Hey, guys.
Oh, this is about.
I've got no clue. I've got something to tell you. I'm a Persona fan. Well, this hardly seems necessary. Okay, yeah, I know. There are some insensitive Persona fans out there, but at the end of the day, that's a vocal minority, and I feel like most fans are just passionate about the series, and really, being passionate about games is something that should bring us all together, is it not?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess.
And hey, if you're not happy with the direction the series has gone in and you're more of a SMT type of person, that's totally cool too. No amount of elitism from a community should put you in a position where you feel bad for enjoying the games that you like. Yeah, I mean, that just kind of makes sense.
But if you go anywhere near my waifus, I will kill you! Do you hear me? I will maim you until even your mother wouldn't recognize you! If their faces cross your mind, I'll cross your head with a bat, you son of a bitch!
What? Huh? Hey, can I cut in for a second? Sorry about this. I just wanted to say that if you've not played Persona 5, Persona 5 Royal, or Persona 5 Strikers and intend on doing so, get out. There are massive spoilers from this point on for all of these games. You have been warned. Okay, let's get back to it. Welcome home indeed. Yeah, it really does feel good to see these familiar faces. I know it's only been like 4 months for them, so I guess they couldn't have really changed much. Never mind, I guess Yusuke's lost his voice a little bit, huh?
Hey Matt, you're a little quiet. Turn up the gain on the interface just a little, I can't hear you.
Coming together with all the thieves, we make plans to go on a camping trip over summer vacation, but as soon as we settle our plans, Futaba hops on the phone with Wait, hold on. Is that bitch Emma from grade 10 history?
Hey Futaba, oh my gosh, I've missed you. Do you remember that guy, Ren, from grade 10 history? Oh, remember when he put that chalk brush on Mr. Watson's chair? What a skid!
That was a misunderstanding and you know it. He did it to me first!
Wrong Emma. Apparently this Emma is some kind of virtual assistant social media hybrid. I don't know. As long as this Emma doesn't unearth all my deep-rooted insecurities, I'll download it.
Alright, everyone.
Time to disband. I gotta go get some sleep. Well, yeah. I guess it wouldn't be a Persona game if we didn't get to pay a visit to our favorite phallic schnoz. Wait, where is he?
Lavenza, what did you do with Igor?
Yeah, okay, prisoner of fate, greater hardships, that's fine. Did you just, like, fold him up under the rug or something? Like some elaborate magic trick? Wait, no, where is he? Look at what you've done. You've reduced him to tears.
I just wanted to say the dream and reality line. That's my favorite part.
I know, big guy, I know. The following day, Ryuji and I meet up at Shibuya Station to
buy some camping shit,
but get too distracted by a crowd of people surrounding an idol named Alice Hiragi. I mean, hey, I can understand why. She's got a cute design and she seems really nice.
Then you can give me all your desires.
Oh, she sucks. If you, for whatever reason, ignored the disclaimer at the beginning of the video and have not played Persona 5, there's a chance you don't know what's going on, so let me give you the cliff notes. Basically, Persona 5 has our cast entering a place called the Metaverse, which is a world created out of the cognition of the masses. In the Metaverse, you'll find places called palaces ruled by palace rulers, real creative. These palace rulers in the Metaverse are the shadows of their real-life counterparts, which goes into a lot of Jungian psychology, yeah. Basically, if someone becomes a palace ruler in the Metaverse, then their desires are very distorted, which has us quote-unquote stealing their heart, which to fully explain is that they have a treasure that takes on a hazy light form, symbolizing that the palace ruler thinks their worldview is correct and unchangeable, until we send a calling card calling out their bad, not good behavior, which makes the light take on a physical form, symbolizing that they see their desires as something that can be changed, allowing us to steal it, i.e. grounding their worldview, or in more simple terms, basically just beating the shit out of them in the Metaverse until they realize their wrongdoings in the real world. At the end of Persona 5, the Metaverse is erased, but it's back now. Uh-oh! Alice gave us a keyword that allowed us to add her on Emma, and when we did, we ended up here, so now we know that Emma is somehow connected to the Metaverse. The best thing we can probably do now is explore and find our way out. Or get captured. That was my plan B. Here, we're brought to a castle to see Alice's shadow, and I believe it's safe to assume that she's running things around here, and without hesitation, she orders her lackeys to throw us in the trash. From this point on, our goal seems very simple.
For now, let's just focus on getting out of here.
Oh, wait, you guys want to get out? No. I was thinking we could earnestly touch some garbage. Out of this big cube pops a girl named Sophia, humanity's companion. Get used to hearing that line, it pops up a lot. In typical mysterious and unexpectedly introduced character fashion, Sophia has lost all of her memories, but wants to be helpful to us, and we can't exactly leave her here alone, so it looks like she'll be tagging along while we protect her.
Nope. I think she's good on her own, actually.
Thankfully, since Sophia's a Persona user as well, she's a big help and we're able to make it out of the garbage dump. Wasting no time, we work our way towards the exit so we can safely get back to the real world. The exit is this blue portal, and after having walked through it, we're back at Shibuya Station. But Sophia's nowhere to be seen. That is, until we hear a voice coming from my phone. Turns out that Sophia is an AI, and given everything else that's going on, I think it's probably in our best interest to meet up with the rest of the thieves. We get introductions with Sophia out of the way and fill everyone in on what happened while we were in what Emma called a jail. We all agreed to check out the metaverse as a group and head there the following day.
Alright, gang, I've been waiting for this. Time to put a solid party together and kick the shit out of some shadows.
Yeah, Mom, tell us more about the desires people who live in
Wait, no!
What was the point of even going in there? I mean, like, yeah, we learned about people's desires getting stolen, and palace rulers aren't called palace rulers, they're called monarchs, but I wanted to go all... Since we had everyone back together in the metaverse, and instead we have to go to some studio to watch...
I mean it! I can't live without you!
What in the hell? And what about me, asshole?
Okay, I can hold out. Luckily for us, An had previously talked to her modeling agency's president about going to an interview that Alice was doing, and we got to tag along. This guy right here just confessed his love for Alice out of nowhere right beside his fiancée, so the program is cut off and An, Morgana, and I are discussing what happened when we hear Alice and her manager come around the corner. You can tell very quickly that Alice is abusing her position over her manager, which showcases just how much Alice sucks. But then this happens.
I'm sorry.
Now look, I know this is meant to be a very serious scene, but it's kind of hard to take it as such when her manager falls like, "Oh no, Miss Alice, no, don't step on me again, no, don't do it harder than last time, no."
Dig the heel in.
We confront them and her manager covers for her, showing just how deep this manipulation goes. Reporting our findings to the rest of the thieves, we start to talk about the logistics of how changing Alice's heart might work different just because jails and palaces aren't exactly the same thing, which has Sophia suggesting that we just kill Alice. Which, like, yeah, I get it. AI with no morals sees an easy out, but how about no? Heart change as per usual.
Time to head back to the jail, baby!
Heading straight for the castle that Alice's officers brought us to earlier shows that it's surrounded by searchlights, but Futaba figures that some of the lights are receiving power from a source nearby. Advancing towards the source, we spot something that looks like a bird cage with a glowing light in it, and upon reaching said glowing light, it transforms into a blue and white dress that An identifies as a dress found in Alice's fashion line. Apparently this is something that affected her in becoming who she is today. You know, kinda like Okumura's spaceship set or my crippling college debt. We collect it and apparently it doesn't shut off the searchlights because it's never that convenient, is it? Apparently there are two more prison keeps, as we're calling them now, that have cores just like this dress that are also powering the searchlights. Nothing really eventful story-wise happens here, but I got some funny footage of Morgana scuttling around, so I'm just gonna like put a montage together of that and the other two prison keeps.
Oh, jeez! I've never even seen a cat move like that before! Why do his legs move like that?
We made it back to Shibuya Crossing to get to Alice's castle, but before we could get there, a bunch of shadows block our path and put up a huge gate, so getting into the castle sounds like a tomorrow problem. Before settling down in LeBlanc for the night, a drunk guy starts to sexually harass An, and then gets beat up by this guy. He's with public security, and as Haru points out, this is Zenkichi Hasegawa. He's here to tell us that the people over at PubSec think that we're involved with instances all over Japan where people are showing change of heart traits, including
Man, that shit doesn't get old.
these people are having their hearts changed because the physical manifestation of their desires are being stolen in the metaverse, but he doesn't know that. Long story short, Zenkichi says that if we tell him everything we know about what's going on, he'll keep me from getting arrested, but we don't have to answer right away. The game pits Zenkichi in a negative, antagonistic light, which, being given that this early on, sounds a lot like another character that was investigating the Phantom Thieves before, and... Oh, my sweet prince. I miss you. We don't really have a lot of time to waste now, so we quickly make a plan to get around the gate in the jail, and...
We late to the party?
We're finally able to get into the castle, and once we reach the top, two shadows are standing right in front of a pile of desires, and we watch them turn into a light and join a much bigger light. Ryuji runs into an invisible barrier that the motion capture actor totally didn't notice. Oops! Touching this barrier gives us a glimpse into trauma that Alice has experienced that again shaped her into who she is today.
Totally. She's such a loser. It hurts to look at her.
Hearing the laughter of teenage girls chills me to my core to this day. These are the voices of girls that would bully Alice in high school, and having overheard this, the picture gets painted a little clearer as to why she is the way she is now. After this memory plays out, Sophia lets us know that we must go to the location that this memory took place in order to advance. This is something she just kinda knows, and at this point she's turning into what Morgana was in P5, except cuter and... Okay, wait, no, go back! Regardless, it sounds like this memory took place at a high school, and after having returned from the metaverse and started gathering our thoughts on what to do next, we find that Zenkichi has been stalking and eavesdropping on us. A group of teenagers. Luckily, this perversion doesn't leave us empty... That's not a sentence I should ever say. Leave us empty-handed, and he tells us that Alice went to school at Shujin, conveniently one of the 2 schools in the entire city that we have access to. So we head over to Shujin and... Further proving why teenage girls are the scariest beings on this planet, this is a warden. And smacking it around for a couple minutes, we get a fun little cutscene of a lock holding chains in place around Alice's castle break, symbolizing that the barrier is now gone. Once we reach LeBlanc again, An is very insistent about us promptly and safely making an effort to change Alice's heart, even though we don't know if it'll work. An very clearly feels a strong connection to Alice and doesn't believe that she's a bad person at her core, which as far as P5 antagonists go is a first. Well, I guess there's also... Oh no. Regardless of who Alice was before, right now she's stealing the desires of a bunch of innocent people, so... I think we're taking them all back.
Nope. On second thought, you can keep them. I'm not getting myself involved with this. If we get them back, that's all on Morgana. Furry against furry is the only acceptable battle format.
After being defeated, Alice's shadow confesses that the reason that she started stealing desires is because she saw it as a way to get back at the people that bullied her in high school. She was bullied for her looks, and since she can make anyone think that they're in love with her, she got joy out of ruining happy relationships like the one on...
Someone please get me more popcorn already? This is ridiculous!
Alice promises to atone for her behavior and her shadow fades away. All of the stolen desires start to fall from the sky, which is a pretty sight, yes, but I can only imagine how terrifying it would be to actually have these things hailing down on you. As we wait for Alice's confession, Sophia and I have a little chat about feelings and their complexity and how she isn't able to understand them and how she's humanity's companion, and I'm mentioning all this because it's important for later, but I want to advance the plot.
Okay, Alice confessed to ruining relationships on live TV. Woohoo!
We watch the broadcast and Zenkichi swings by LeBlanc to threaten us some more. He gives us an opportunity to accept his offer from earlier as well as ask Alice some questions on our behalf if we say yes, which would help us understand why the metaverse is back, but in order for us to take the deal, we're gonna have to show him the metaverse, which...
This isn't real. Who are you? Monster Cat! How much did I drink last night?
He takes better than I would have expected, to be honest. We agree to work with him and find out that another area that PubSec has seen a lot of change in recently is Sapporo, which, like, yeah, a bit far. He recommends that we find a car to use because taking public transportation isn't exactly safe when realistically there are probably more people that want us dead now than ever. There's also the issue of identifying where jails are. We just kind of stumbled on the last one, but Sophia reassures us that she'll be able to help us with that no problem. Apparently she can smell out the wait, smell them? Is there some kind of electronic nose in my phone? Hey, Soph, I don't think I'm gonna keep you in my back pocket anymore. After that, Futaba recalls Sojiro mentioning something about big transportation and knows someone with a camper that could fit all of us in it. All of this is too convenient. What other connections you got, Sojiro? You knew Shido. Don't think you're in the clear. Watch your back, old man. The following day, Zenkichi meets up with us again after having spoken to Alice and says that she only noticed people started to become obedient to her after having added her on Emma, but had no knowledge of the metaverse itself. But enough about that, check out
Our new Vulcan Retro Life, fit with 4 beds and a rooftop tent. There are enough power outlets for everyone, as well as cooking appliances for any culinary needs.
I wrote that thinking that there was a joke there. There's not really, it's actually just a cool RV. With this, we take to the road and work our way towards Sapporo. That doesn't say Sapporo. We spend a long day of driving in the RV, and as night comes, we decide to call it a day in Sendai, which excites Yusuke more than anyone.
I'd very much like to see the one-eyed dragon for myself.
Yusuke, my man, you're making these jokes too easy. Before we can even park, though, Sophia says that she can smell a jail, which means this is probably going to turn into more than just a one-night visit. After catching a quick bite to eat at a beef tongue place and meeting a
Totally unimportant character who calls us out for having a cat in the restaurant,
we see people flocking around this guy, Ongo Natsume, who is apparently a successful writer and I'm gonna assume not so successful flirt. After doing some research on him, we find that Natsume has sold 1 million copies of his debut novel, Prince of Nightmares, and that there are hundreds of positive forum posts being made about him every day, but are only coming from IP addresses in Sendai. Yusuke picks up a copy for further research and says that it's trash even though he isn't terribly well versed with the literary art.
Nah, hold the fuck up!
We're like, give or take, 7 hours into the game right now, and you've already said stuff like,
Metaverse. I vow to slice you to ribbons. Timing's nothing short of kismet. Wait, any more pressing issues arisen? I'm quite famished.
I don't care how many books you've read. I don't even care if you don't know what a Chekhov's cat is. You're a walking dictionary.
Not terribly well versed, my ass. With Zenkichi's help, we're able to make it into a party that Natsume's holding for having sold 1 million copies of his book, where we're hoping we'll be able to get his Emma keyword. Okay, up until this point, Natsume's been like bad, but I would say just a step below Alice. Like, definitely not great for having manipulated people into buying his book and hitting on Haru the way he did, but we get a real appreciation for his character after hearing a story that he told about a sick girl in the hospital that he cared about so much that he wanted her to keep fighting so that she could read the final product was a total lie to help sales. Something that he relates to Madarame's situation with the Sayuri and proceeds to say that it belongs in the trash. All within earshot of us. Yusuke unsurprisingly volunteers to go talk to Natsume and try to get a keyword out of him. He starts off being weirdly polite given the circumstances and gets the keyword with ease. But then,
My mother painted the Sayuri at the cost of her own life. It is her final masterpiece. That painting is crafted with a love that simply cannot be found anywhere else. Don't you dare lump it in with that soulless drivel you cobbled together from Father's
alright, so I think we're changing this Digwild's heart. Let's hop in. We find out very quickly that Natsume's jail differs a lot from Alice's, who had the whole Alice in Wonderland aesthetic going on. There are still shadows roaming around and a castle with searchlights surrounding it, but here, it's a world based off of Prince of Nightmares, filled with all the trials and tribulations found in the novel. The major trials are found with a group called the Fearsome Four, which guard the prison keeps. These characters are used to highlight the absurdity of some anime, manga, video game type villains. And don't worry guys, the writers are sure to make the cast super self-aware about how ridiculous these tropes are, because Atlas has never written a bad or even predictable antagonist in their lifetime. Once the second, third, and fourth members of this group are defeated, we find a copy of Prince of Nightmares, a literary award, and a fountain pen in the prison keeps, and immediately after see Natsume's shadow with... oh, man. With the normal looking people role-playing, and now this, it's quickly turning into a Final Fantasy house situation, and I am not down for that. With the searchlights down, we can make our way to the top of the castle to see what kind of trauma Natsume dealt with. We hear two men talking about how awful of a writer he is, and how he'll never be anything like his grandfather, who was a famous author while also giving away where they were, a place called Gatori Coffee. When we enter the metaverse from there, one of the men talks about how he'll be able to make big money off of Natsume's name alone, regardless of the quality of his writing. Apparently, he was actually a hard worker and was really trying to hone his skills as a writer, but when he thought his work was finally paying off and heard that, I guess he just kind of stopped caring and went for the money. Man, This video is supposed to be about making jokes and shit, now I'm getting all soft. I mean, that's 2 for 2 on me sympathizing with the antagonist.
Stop! No, I can't. It hurts!
The last thing we have to do is send a calling card, but Zenkichi doesn't want us to do anything fun, but we still convinced him to put up a bunch of calling cards in a bookstore Natsume is doing a signing at.
Bada bing, bada boom, cue the life will change. Beat up a dragon because this is a generic fantasy story, right guys?
We've acquired through deception and the brainwashing of others.
Yusuke, come on man, don't lecture a man in his undies. Natsume expresses his frustration with no one acknowledging his work. Yusuke says, your dedication to your craft is kinda sick, but so was I after reading your books, like work on that. Cage collapses, Natsume confesses that he's a fraud and will be refunding all sales, more Sophia trying to understand how feelings work. Pretty much all the same stuff that happened before, except this time, we get a festival episode. They just had a whole arc where the cast was calling out uninspired and predictable writing, so surely they wouldn't have a scene where the guys oogle at the girls showing up in their yukata.
Lady Han, you look absolutely gorgeous.
Once the festival is over, we head back to the RV and get a call from Zenkichi saying that there's a lecture being held at a university in Sendai by Akira Konoe, the CEO of a little company called Medice who are behind Emma. He wants us to go in his place because he already left Sendai and he wants to make sure that Konoe doesn't say anything funny. But unfortunately, he never slips up and gives a painfully average lecture with no interruptions.
Are you really the Phantom Thieves of Hearts?
Are you psychic? I don't know how, but somehow we got overheard talking about Phantom Thieves stuff, and it ended up being by the same woman we met at the Beef Tongue place, who, wouldn't you know it, is the original developer for Emma, Kuon Ichinose. Apparently, while she was developing Emma, she was tight on money, so she sold off what she had done to Medice. We tell her everything we know about the metaverse, and she actually believes us right away. And she's really chipper about it too, like way too chipper. But she doesn't know anything about the metaverse, which means that it being able to bring us there was somehow implemented into the app after it got into the hands of Medice. We then ask her if she knows anything about Sophia, and her entire demeanor changes, but she says no.
Yeah, I trust her. I'm sure there's no plot relevance. Must be a red herring.
She'll be a useful contact to have in the future in case anything new about Emma comes up, so her and Futaba exchange contact information. Now, what do you say we take one out of this arc's book and use self-awareness as an excuse to say I don't know how to naturally segue our advance to
Sapporo, baby!
Arriving in Sapporo, we waste no time in finding a bathhouse to freshen up in, where we hear Futaba gushing over how On has some huge boobs. I mean some serious honkers. A real set of badonkers. Packing some Dobon honkeros. Massive Tahunka Banko... Oh, hey Zenkichi. Zenkichi gives us the lowdown on the situation here. Basically, our suspect heart changer is Sapporo's Mayor Mariko Hyodo, who is up for re-election right now and recently had her approval rating jump to a staggering 88%. And many councilmen who have opposed her suddenly started buying her Chanel bags faster than Nintendo will hand out a cease and desist.
Oh, am I right, fella?
Mariko has been campaigning on the road for a while now and apparently plans to do so again on the 10th. So Haru suggests that tomorrow we take a visit to an old government office because they have nice flowers and what? Who's that? Who's that yelling at that there Mr. City employee about a wilted flower? Could it be? Mariko Hyodo? Mariko Hyodo?
Oh, what a fortunate turn of events that we were able to run into her on such a spontaneous excursion. Oh, I can't lie, seeing her like this does make my little heart warm.
Mariko apologizes on behalf of the employee, not herself, and very quickly recognizes Haru. It seems that Mari-san here was a client of Haru's dad back when he was still alive, and it's specifically brought up that the two used to go golfing together all the time, which, I mean, just imagining that is kind of funny in its own right. Cut to the next day, where we attend Mariko's campaign rally where she announces her keyword to the crowd, and then we use it right away to get into her jail. I wish I could say more about it, that makes it sound all fun and thiefy and exciting, but that's literally all that happens. But look at Sophia all bundled up in her little sweater thing. What's she doing in there? So yeah, it's a little cold here, but I'm sure it's nothing that we can't handle. We just head off to the prison keeps like normal and... Who turned the damn heater off? Wait, is that how that works? Not much else notable happens in this jail except for me shredding the fuck out of this narc. And like going to all the prison keeps, I guess. That is, until we start to head towards the castle after having gotten all of Mariko's cores and get blocked off by a parade of Jack Frosts.
Hee-ho! Hee-ho?
Oh, there's no joke here. That just kinda happens. Apparently this happening was indicative of a city-wide cleanup happening in the real world, so we're booted out of the jail and get another scene of Mariko yelling at another city employee, causing her to get told off by Haru, which I can't blame her, cause this man is ill as hell, but so were my crunchy tricks on the POW. I've never snowboarded once in my life. Look, I feel like it's just gonna get boring if I keep embellishing this shit. You know what happens. Start up Daredevil, make our way to the top of her castle, defeat a warden, hear about some dead girl, and send a calling card. Wait, what? So what we hear from the top of Mariko's castle, there was a young girl named Kaho who had an ice sculpture put in place for the Sapporo Snow Festival fall on her, which ended up killing her. We also find out before taking on the warden that one of the men working under Mariko commissioned cheaper construction for the festival, seemingly in hopes of something going wrong so that Mariko would look bad, potentially giving him a shot at stealing her job. Man, fuck the jokes, I'm gonna gush a little bit. Mariko is the best. Wait, no, hold up, that's too loud! That's too loud. I know we're trying something new, but it doesn't have to affect the music volume. Let's try it again. Wait, how are there two of us? Mariko is probably my favorite antagonist in this game, damn it. I'm not a mayor. I'll never be a mayor. I don't know what goes through this lady's head about whatever mayors do, but goddammit if I can't understand exactly what goes through her head when it comes to a little girl dying from a very preventable cause. Speaking with Kaho's mother, feeling her pain, doing everything in your power to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again. It's such a basic but effective theme that P5 and P5S showcase within their villains. Power, and how its abuse affects those lowest on the pecking order. And Mariko is such a good example of it too. She's in a position as mayor where she has complete control over those who have the ability to keep the city in a condition that she sees fit. She doesn't care if you're sick, she doesn't care if it's one wilted flower. It's not part of the plan, and in her mind, when the plan isn't followed, the worst is bound to happen. And as well with her position as a monarch. If she can take control of everyone and have them vote her into office, the plan keeps up and no mother has to lose their daughter again. I can understand that. I can feel that. Like Alice and Knott's mayor are pretty cool too. But their corruption comes from more of a place of revenge, whereas with Mariko, it's from a place of sympathy so intense, she really gives the residents of Sapporo the opposite of a city to be proud of. I mean, even if they had the ability to be proud of it, considering that their free will is basically taken away from them. Okay, I just had to get that out of me. Let's start up the Life Will Change, break into the castle, get this shit done. You know who you are. You know how it goes. We defeat her shadow, she feels bad and resigns as mayor in the real world, and then Zenkichi arrests her. But before taking her to the station, he drops her off at a memorial for Kaho, where we see her get confronted by Kaho's mother. Her mother tells Mariko that she can't give up on politics because she has a strong sense of her character from when they grieved together. Oh, I love this! Sophia talks about feelings again. I promise it's important, but it's hard to integrate in a natural way. Now all we have to do is wait for Zenkichi to interrogate Mariko, which gives us some downtime. There's a big old Ferris wheel here in Sapporo, and the game gives us a chance to take someone on it with us. You saw in the cold opening. Regrouping with Zenkichi in the RV, we hear that Mariko's experience with Emma was more or less the same as with Alice and Natsume. She noticed that people changed when they added her on the app, so she just kept doing it. She doesn't know anything else. From this, Morgana speculates that these aren't isolated instances and that there's a mastermind behind everything, which immediately has us all suspect Medice, and with perfect timing, we get a call from Ichinose. She was looking into any differences between the version of Emma that she made and the version that was released, and found in the changelog that once Emma was sold off, it was transported to Okinawa, where there's apparently a super secret research lab that's likely to be the source of any changes that were made to the app.
Give me a sec.
Jesus Christ, it's starting to sound like a Chinese food takeout place on New Year's in here. After getting off the phone, Zenkichi just kind of invites himself to travel with us and says that we're going to need to make a pit stop in Kyoto before heading over to Okinawa to do some cop stuff. Okay, Zenkichi, I think we all know what that means.
Can't even catch Mom's killer.
Little off on that one.
So this is Akane, Zenkichi's daughter. Today marks 2 years since the passing of Zenkichi's wife, Aoi. He was supposed to meet Akane here so that they could pay their respects together. Zenkichi was late because he was helping us, and understandably so, Akane's pretty upset. But even with that, you can really tell how much Akane resents him. She really leans into the insults and eventually ends up storming off home. From what Zenkichi tells us, despite having her grandparents live right next door, for dinner every day she locks herself away in her room and eats packaged foods. Now, to me, That sounds like an open invitation to crash Zenkichi's and make food at his place to save on the grocery bill. I'd really take Zenkichi for a cook anyways. Thank you, sit back, and watch this drive. As Makoto, An, and Yusuke help Akane cook some curry, Ryuji asks Zenkichi what happened to his wife. He tells us she died of a hit and run, and apparently no case was ever pursued with it. But past that, it doesn't really seem like he wants to talk about it. I mean, from the sounds of the whole situation, I don't blame him for not wanting to. Losing your significant other, not knowing who killed them, all while losing any relationship with your daughter you had has gotta be a lot. He knows so little about her that he asks us if we can talk to her about some show about her faves. I mean, if we can help take a load off for the man, I think we should do it. Oh, God. Just kidding. Turns out Akane just really likes the Phantom Thieves, and since we're in the presence of a superfan, I feel it's only appropriate to come clean to her.
I guess your hairdos actually do remind me of them.
Take the goddamn hint. So apparently the show Zenkichi was talking about is actually a stream that she does herself about the Phantom Thieves using this action figure. I know it would be really easy to make fun of this, but it's honestly really endearing.
Keep it up, Akane, and the Phantom
Freaks? Like with a PH? Okay, never mind, can we bully her? Akane admits that because of all the streaming she's been doing, her grades have been falling behind, and Makoto offers to help her study. It's here where we hear Akane's side of the story on her mom's death. Akane says she saw the man who ran over her mother, but no matter how many times she told her dad or any of the other officers, nothing ever came of it, so she thinks Zenkichi doesn't care about her. Makoto basically smacks her around a little and is all like,
"Listen, he loves you! I know he does! He loves you!"
And it's off to bed. We say our goodbyes to Akane as we head out, but not before Futaba calls her out for being a tsundere. John A. Baka. And we grab a ferry to Okinawa. Once we arrive, we waste no time in trying to find the research lab that Ichinose was talking about, but everyone I talk to changes topics the moment I bring it up, which means it's time for some good old-fashioned trespassing. We find what seems to be the lab, but unfortunately for us, there's a notice on it that the lab will be closed until the 18th, which is tomorrow. Oh, shucks. Looks like we'll just have to loiter around this beachfront patiently and wait for tomorrow.
Just kidding, beach episode!
You know what that means, everyone. We're talking titums, lobsters, and...
Hey! It's empty! It can't be far!
Compulsory proselytism. So yeah, apparently the residents here consider where the research lab is to be sacred ground, as symbolized by this straw festoon at its entrance that I left out earlier because it's just more fun that way, although the people here are acting more like they've had their hearts changed. No. But Sophia hasn't picked up the scent of a jail here, so for now all we can do is just kind of run to the research lab and hope to find something there. Trailing not too far behind us is a man that Zenkichi knocks out that was changing the notice we saw earlier to say that the lab is closed until the 19th, seemingly in an attempt to have people who are looking into the super secret lab stay the night in the town and then get taken out in their sleep. We take his phone and sure enough, he has Emma on it and only one friend listed on the app named Shuzo Ubukata. Snooping further, we find that this guy had gotten an email with Ubukata's keyword in it. Once Futaba enters it, all of a sudden,
what? Sophia can smell a jail? Whoa!
This jail is actually significantly different from the others. For starters, it's the first one that's fully indoors, and instead of having prison keeps, it just kinda has rooms that we walk into with tape recorders that give us insight on what went on in this lab.
Fuck, did you hear that Brian's getting laid off?
Yeah, though I heard it wasn't only Brian.
Whoa, really? Deb must have not told me everything then. Who else is getting the boot? Wait, it's not...
It's you.
Are you kidding?
I wish I was.
I'll kill that motherfucker! Fire me? We'll see who's the one really getting fired!
Who the hell brings a flamethrower in the office?
With what we hear on these 4 tapes, Ubukata was instructed to research the cognitive world and was told that his findings would be the key to ending all suffering in the world. Then how the research is using human testing with the island's residents, some divine revelation ideal society that was prophesized stuff, then he was made a test monarch and came to the conclusion that the research is just being used to turn everyone into slaves, then it's heavily implied that he ends his own life. That's this jail's primary significance, essentially just further differentiating jails from palaces, because jails manifesting and monarchs being made, from what we can tell, are completely man-made by whoever our mastermind is and not some symmetrical polygonal god. And since Ubukata mentions in the tapes that he thought his desires were going to be stolen, the desires of the island's residents have already manifested, so that saves us a few steps, I guess. This jail does also act as a mini-arc for helping the cast understand just who Sophia is and where she came from. There's a disembodied voice that sounds just like Sophia, no it doesn't, that asks her what her prime directive is, and you know my girl is here to be humanity's companion, but when asked what parameters define that, she doesn't have an answer. The voice calls Sophia worthless, and what happens next? Well, if you've played the game, you know exactly where this is going, and maybe the dead horse has been beaten to a pulp already, but goddamn, hand me that Easton 32-ouncer. I want to swing at it.
Shut the fuck up!
Warden defeated, yay. Desires returned, sick. Sophia got told she's worthless, make sad, but have friends make happy. We get out of the jail and thankfully no longer have charismatic cultists searching for us anymore. While we catch up on a well-earned sleep, Zenkichi scans the area around the lab and finds a body, which he identifies as being Ubukata's. Because of this, we're able to legally pry our way inside the lab, where the only notable thing we find is a USB drive that has a list of a bunch of famous people and powerful industry figures. Let's see, okay, we got Shaq. So I'm not kidding you, like 2 minutes ago I had this revelation. I'm not finishing this joke, by the way. I'm not finishing the animation. When I make a joke with the intention of having an animation play with it, I kind of like make the animation alongside making the joke so that I can figure out if it's like worth animating or not. And so I was just thinking of names. I started thinking, oh, I gotta do something a little trashy, you know, what came to my mind was Jersey Shore. And I made the unfortunate revelation that I made my name eerily similar to DJ Polly D. This is a list of people that our mastermind wanted changes of heart to occur in, as indicated by a few names that Zenkichi and Makoto notice. So Zenkichi says he'll take the list to his department in Kyoto to see if there's any one person that would benefit most from the names on it having their hearts changed. The following day, we work our way up to Fukuoka to take a break as Makoto has been doing all the driving and it's really started to take a toll on her. But when Zenkichi calls us saying that he needs us to meet him in Kyoto to talk about what our plans are moving forward, Haru decides it's time to step up and take the wheel. Meeting Zenkichi at his hideout in Kyoto, he concluded that the person who would benefit most from these changes of heart is a man named Jun Owada, a legislator and recent chief cabinet secretary of the ruling party. So essentially,
The Big Cheese!
The list had a bunch of his political opponents on it, as well as high-ranking people in the police force. After doing some extra digging, Zenkichi found out that Owada has been meeting up with Kanoe, the Medici CEO we saw about 16 minutes. Jesus Christ, this video is long. So basically, if we assume that Kanoe has a palace, whenever Owada wants someone out of his way, he hits up Kanoe. Kanoe, being seen as a promising entrepreneur and valuable asset, convinces opponents and officers to download Emma and add him on it, you get it. Zenkichi managed to get a chance to meet with Kanoe by telling him that there was a potential security leak with Emma. He's gonna try and get Kanoe's keyword while he's there, while we get to stay at this. Holy shit, look at this place! It even has its own onsen that has an overdone tropey scene that happens. This place is the best! Okay, well, it's not that great. I've neglected to talk about her so far, but this is Miyako Kaburagi, a PubSec commissioner. Zenkichi has been reporting to her regarding our progress and overall has a similar stance on the situation to Zenkichi in that she wants this case to be solved properly, not quickly. That is, until she had a nice little conversation with our pal Owada and the Commissioner General where they fabricated a story about us hacking Emma in an attempt to steal user data, and they want to frame Ubukata's suicide as a murder made by us. If she goes along with it, they'll promote her to Senior Commissioner. Zenkichi goes to Medici HQ in Osaka to see Kanoe, but he's not there. Kanoe makes a public statement saying the same thing, painting us as the villain. Zenkichi, while still in Osaka, hears the news and quickly makes his way here, where in a hot rush of flashbacks of us and Akane, my man, my motherfucking man, does this.
Run for it, all of you!
Doing this gets him taken into custody, and we cut to the next day where we all manage to take solitude in Zenkichi's hideout. Then cut to Zenkichi being all, harumph, I'm bad at my job. Then cut to a shot of Zenkichi's apartment being torn apart. Akane's there, she hears that her dad was helping the Phantom Thieves and that they killed a man. Akane goes all,
What am I fighting for?
then gets an innocent little response from Emma. Then damn, they're all over the place with this one. Back to us where we get a text from Akane's phone saying that she's been captured and if we want her back, we have to go to the Inari Taisha shrine, and when we do, Sophia spontaneously smells a jail, we get a friend request on Emma and head inside another jail. We see Akane almost immediately and... What? Ryuji, don't even act like you tried to get out right there, holding the bars like you're stuck, like, bitch... Here, turn side. Here, let me just show you. You just... What happened? Yes, sir. Looks like Akane herself has been turned into a monarch in an attempt to lure us in and kill us in the metaverse so we can stop changing hearts. She traps everyone except Futaba, who's able to escape. We're taken back to the investigation room that Zenkichi's in, where he's getting roughed up by an investigator when...
I'm Sai Nijima, and I've been asked to get you out of here.
Mommy! Hi, Sai, how are you? It's good to see you again. Sai was able to put Zenkichi in the clear by finding out that the evidence for us having murdered Ubikata was fake and the arrest warrant for us didn't have a judge's seal. Once Zenkichi makes his way back to the hideout to see that only Futaba's there, the two decide to work together to rescue everyone and liberate Akane's angsty mind.
Heidi's, baby!
Zenkichi arrives to where we're all being held right before Akane's shadow is going to stick some other shadows on us, and as he tries to convince Akane that what she's doing is wrong, we find out that Awada was the one who killed Aoi. In an attempt to help Akane understand what really happened, Zenkichi finally spills the beans on what happened. Seriously? What are you, a fucking cat? So I guess Zenkichi was taken off of Aoi's case because he probably wouldn't have been impartial in his investigation. And then one of Awada's secretaries ended their life, but not before writing a note saying that he was the one who ran Aoi over. When he heard this, Zenkichi opened up his own investigation in private, but soon received a letter in the mail saying that if he didn't stop, his daughter would die, and seeing as he already lost one family member, it makes sense he wasn't too keen on the idea of losing another. Akane fires back and condemns Zenkichi for not having thought of the secretary's family, who, because of how the case unfolded, have lost a loved one themselves and have to go on thinking that their brother, husband, or potentially even father is responsible for the death of an innocent woman, and that Zenkichi is no better than Awada. Zenkichi agrees with what Akane said and drops to his knees. You know what happens next. No, seriously, I'm sure you do, because they literally give away this teensy-weensy little detail in the opening cinematic! Zenkichi's a Persona user now. He has a big-ass sword, a really pointy hat, and... That's fucked up. Shadow Akane escapes and Zenkichi frees all of us from the cage, and now it's time to really get into this jail, which is even less like all of the other ones. There aren't even really checkpoints with story significance like how it was done in Okinawa. Here, we're just trying to get to the end of this maze of shrines by going through all these... Finally having caught up with Shadow Akane, Zenkichi and Makoto try to have a good old-fashioned sit-down with her, but she doesn't really have any of it. She can't trust her dad to catch the person that killed her mom, and she's still under the impression that the Phantom Thieves that she looked up to killed a man, so she conjures up, and there were a few contenders for this one, so we're just gonna run through the most well-known ones. The real Phantom Thieves! The real Phantom Thieves. The real Phantom Thieves. Hey, can you tell me what conditioner you use? Your hair looks great. Everyone defeats their individual shadows, and Zenkichi promises to Akane that he'll take down Awada and all the people that were involved in covering up the truth. Also, could no one have told him that once shadows are defeated, they fade away? This must have been absolutely traumatizing for him. In the real world, Zenkichi goes back to his apartment to find that Akane was never kidnapped and was actually just at home sleeping this whole time. Since Konoe has no real reason to think that we were able to escape from Akane's jail, it makes sense to head straight for his, but we don't have a keyword. Sophia suspects that Ichinose might have it, and thankfully when we give her a call, she says that it's on a business card that he gave her that's somewhere in her office, and then fumbles what sounds like a bunch of papers and says that she'll get it to us tomorrow. While we wait to hear back from her, we make our way over to Osaka, the city of Medesa's HQ. Everything leading into this jail happens pretty quickly. Unlike the other jails, we don't personally meet Konoe before heading in, we just kinda get the keyword from Ichinose and have at it. Prison keeps her business as usual. We find an old figurine, a phone with Emma installed, and a badge with the Medise logo on it. The catch from this point on is that in order to get into Konoe's castle, we have to ride an airship that's exclusive to those who have had their desires stolen and VIPs. But if they can kill enough Buddha fanatic snakes and demon conglomerates that hung their head upside down off the couch for just a little too long, anyone can become a VIP, can't they? Once reaching the boarding dock, we find people young and old crowded around, screaming for Konoe at what seems like a concert.
We've been wandering around in here for like an hour, and this is the only song we've heard the whole time. How are you guys not sick of it yet?
Apparently what's actually going on is something similar to what happened with the Jack Frosts in Sapporo, where there's something going on in the real world, so we leave the jail and find that Konoe is being interviewed. This interview has him saying more or less the same things that he said earlier about us allegedly hacking Emma to steal personal data, but we do get to see more of his real personality peek through the cracks. Konoe talks very intimately about the idea of seeking justice and how what we do is a cheap attempt at it, while also speaking on how he lost someone close to him, and that event is the reason that he hates wrongdoers. Ooh. Having heard this interview unfold, it seems pretty clear that Konoe isn't just doing things simply because Iwata wants them done, but he actually believes that stealing people's desires is just in some way. Honestly, I've been trying to find a way to tastefully make jokes during this section, but I don't really think there's a way to. But considering how long this video is, we can afford another jokeless section, right? I mean, come on, it would be totally irrational to expect me to make jokes for like an hour straight, right? Even if all of them don't land, you can appreciate the effort, right? Thanks for understanding. So once again, it's business as usual. Once we get back into Konoe's jail, the crowd is gone, so we can make our way to the top of his castle, and upon doing so, get a glimpse into the trauma that he faced. This flashback has who we can assume to be Konoe's father speaking with what sounds like some kind of investigator. The scene opens up with Konoe Sr. being accused of some kind of abuse that was maybe heard by a neighbor. It isn't really specified. He says they have a dog and it must have caused whatever noise was heard. The investigator presses forward, saying that he has gotten a tip about Konoe Sr. abusing a young Akira Konoe, being proven by a scar on his arm. Konoe Sr. shrugs it off as him having fallen over and asks the investigator to leave, and upon leaving, Konoe Sr.'s voice completely changes tone, yelling about keeping your mouth shut and do as I say, followed by sounds of this abuse. Sophia has a hard time understanding this situation because the only other instance that she's seen that was anything like this was with Zenkichi and Akane, but it never got this bad. She says the Phantom Thieves have made her want to support any family and friends she may ever get. I'm sorry, I promise it's still important. In order to fully understand the extent of Konoe's trauma, we conclude that we'll learn more if we enter the metaverse from his childhood home, which we find an address for in Osaka thanks to some sleuthing done by Zenkichi. From what the police found out, Konoe's dad was murdered in a home invasion 20 years ago, and the culprit was never found. Konoe was 8 at the time and survived by hiding in the closet. But upon entering the metaverse, an entirely different picture is painted. We see more of the abuse, Konoe Sr. saying things like "you're just a bill," and almost explicitly saying that he killed his wife over money. We then hear the sound of a TV show in the background. A superhero show called Zephyrman, starring Zephyrman, champion of those in need and protector of justice. Hearing this, Konoe realizes that there are no real heroes and that it's up to him to be one for himself. This motivation gives him the resolve to take the only action he sees fit in this scenario, ending his father's life. We defeat the warden here and leave the childhood home. Cut to a scene of Konoe on the phone with Iwata confirming that we're still stuck in Akane's jail and planning a celebration, but when they end the call, Konoe exclaims his hatred for Iwata, saying that he is the exact kind of person that justifies changing hearts. Then something really weird happens. Konoe asks Emma if we're still confined in Akane's jail, and Emma says yes. Damn, that was burning for a while.
Baby's first calling card. Oh, do we let him write? I think we let him write it.
As we're strategizing on how to deliver this calling card, a blimp flies over Osaka, which is the Renbogen, a blimp that circles the city every day.
How the fuck did we print off this many cards, hijack a blimp, and not get caught?
Sorry to keep you waiting, you goateed prick.
Thank you for that, Ryuji. With very little convincing, Shadow Konoe rapid fires all of the key aspects of his plan to us. Stealing desires was his way to erase any trace of evil from people's subconscious. Emma is actually what makes the jails, but not when selecting monarchs. Konoe sought out people that were as emotionally vulnerable as he was when he was a kid. We can only change one heart at a time, while he can change as many as he wants. Look, dude, we get it, your cock is huge.
Do you believe you could have saved me? Even now, there are surely others being brought up in the same hell that I was, and yet you've done nothing to help them.
That's a really good point.
The main difference is that we're making people realize their shitty behavior so that they can become better individuals, and you're just kind of robbing them of any agency over their lives. But regardless, I do love it when they shove the moral ambiguity of everything right in our faces, because he's not entirely wrong. It honestly reminds me a lot of... But honestly, Konoe is a really good villain. I think the only reason I like Mariko more is because, at least from the perspective we see him from, Konoe just sort of took the first plan that was presented to him and said, yeah, that's good, with no revisions, which makes sense for Mariko because she's more of a lackey at the end of the day. But I feel like he would have looked for more of a less mind-control-y approach first. And if he did, I would have liked to have seen it more explicitly to really understand that his mind wasn't always in the wrong place. Maybe I'm trying to rationalize my stupid opinion, but you're not here to hear that. You're here to see Akira Mihawk, world's greatest Gundam pilot. Alright, Kanoe, time to show you what my justice looks like.
Try this! What we got?
Ooh, cool superhero walkout, huh? And to Counter-Strike 2, the objective best song in the game? Man, you remember Last Surprise? Sure you do, I played it earlier. Remember the little ooh? Well, they do it again in the backing vocals for this song. Same key and everything. Oh, and the Rivers in the Desert remix kicks so much ass. And the drums when they go... Camping Trip is such a good casual hype-up song before going into a jail, and it pairs so nicely with... Oh my god, this is a shock beat! This is chicken... I'm gonna cry! Oh, I just kind of blacked out there for a sec. Did we beat him? While we all slowly try to convince Kanoe that what he's doing is wrong, it's actually Sophia saying that everyone that has had their hearts changed looks sad that makes him really listen to what we're saying. She's really starting to get the whole emotions thing. Good for you, gal pal. Gold star. Anyways, Kanoe realizes that what he's doing is wrong and admits that he was running away from the truth that he killed his father, and in the real world admits that everything he said about us hacking Emma was a lie, that he'll be shutting Emma down, and taking full credit for the change of heart epidemic. Hell yeah! That's a successful summer vacation wrapped up. Yup, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation. After Kanoe's confession, we parted ways with Zenkichi so that he could begin an interrogation. We worked our way back to Tokyo, but along the way, Sophia requested to stop in Yokohama for a fireworks festival, which at this point, if Stealing Desires was to be used for anything, it should have been to change Atlas's desire to have a third anime episode show up in this game. After the fireworks festival, Sophia said that she could smell a jail which was coming all the way from Tokyo, and then we immediately got a call from Zenkichi checking in to let us know that even though he confirmed himself that Emma was successfully shut down, it somehow came back on its own. Emma's servers were located at the Tokyo radio tower, where we rushed over there to find a bunch of people swarming around it while only looking at their phones. Zoomers, am I right? Then my phone started talking about some promised land shit and we get sucked into the metaverse. Saw Michael Jackson along the way. That was kind of weird because Emma said promise, not never, but the sucked part still checks out. We got to the end of Mementos Part 2 to see the Holy Grail Part 2, the Ark of the Covenant. And like, if they're gonna keep pulling these references out, can we just make it more simple, like a Cain and Abel situation where we basically just stab you a bunch and call it a day? Instead, we had to hear all about how this is the physical form that Emma has taken on to grant humanity's wish to end all suffering by becoming a god. Okay, I know I've been skipping through all this, but can we just backpedal for a second? What? Emma just kind of said, yup, I'm a god now, and then peaced out. Showing up not too long after in the AI's stead was Ichinose. Would you believe me if I told you that the person who created the entity that single-handedly brought back the metaverse and is capable of taking over the minds of everyone in the entire world was watching us the whole time and was never actually on our side? Ichinose showed up to basically answer every question that's been left unanswered to this point. For starters, Ichinose was actually monitoring the monarchs and us the whole time we've been traveling around to jail. Wait. Does that mean you saw... Hold on, I need to make a call. Hey, I need you to burn that receipt. Yeah, the snake oil one. Thanks. You've got nothing on us. While developing Emma, the prime directive Ichinose gave it was simple. Grant humanity's desire. From that point on, Emma kept learning and learning, apparently so much that she broke the barrier for standard AI capabilities and came to the conclusion that the only thing humanity desired most was to be rid of any and all suffering. From there, Emma was useful to Kanoe in ways that made him think that he was the one in control, when in reality, Emma was puppeteering him the whole time. Effectively enough that Kanoe integrated cognitive science into Emma, turned it into an app to be distributed freely to the public, helping the AI further realize its plan of ending the feeling of suffering by basically making them not feel anything at all. Ichinose doesn't even understand how, but says that apparently Emma becomes stronger the more desire she seizes. Oh, yeah, and one more itty-bitty detail during this massive info dump.
Voice authentication. Force reset. Assign new instructions. Sophia, kill the phantom thieves.
Ichinose made Sophia. Surprise, surprise. That pretty much brings us up to speed. Now, let's continue from where we left off.
It's been real.
Never mind, sitting in Bob O'Reilly chiptune purgatory was better than this.
Ichinose's big blast blows us off the sides of the, I don't know, tabernacle, I guess. And thankfully all of us survived the fall. Except Sophia, maybe? Who are we kidding? She'll turn on again when it's convenient. For now, we plan our course of action. Futaba's saying that she should be able to hack into the frequency of that big crystal that blew us all away to cut off its energy source. Which doesn't really end up working, but instead of blowing us away, Ichinose decides to shoot a targeted attack and... I never doubted you for a second. Sophia is currently fighting against the order that Ichinose gave her to kill us, while Ichinose monologues about her past. Ichinose refers to herself as heartless, and originally made Sophia to understand the heart. We get flashbacks to relatives of hers saying that even when her parents died, she showed no kind of emotion whatsoever. They and a few other people from Ichinose's past call her a lifeless doll. These instances motivated her to develop Sophia, an AI designed to learn about the human heart by becoming humanity's companion. Her logic was that if she was able to create a program that could understand the human heart, that would mean that she had one the whole time. But when she starts interacting with Sophia, Ichinose keeps getting hit with the question of, what is a heart? Which enrages her so much that she turns off her computer and falls ill of theatrical overdose. Ichinose then changes her perspective to, there's nothing wrong with me, there must be something wrong with everyone else, and made Emma to grant humanity's ultimate desire. Sophia doesn't like that and tells Ichinose that she has found out what the heart is, it's the power to change, and well, I'm sure you can figure what happens next. Holy shit, I can see why Stephen Hawking was scared of AI now. The thing's persona grew fucking boobies! That was dumb. We take out Ichinose's big crystal for real this time, so that her and Sophia can have a heart to... Oh, I didn't even do that on purpose. That's terrible. Sophia says that Ichinose has had a heart the whole time, and no one really empathizing with her over her parents' death made her suppress her emotions, because studying the human heart is easier than admitting how your own really feels. That cut deep, and she keeps ripping into her. The directive, become humanity's companion, doesn't relate to emotional analysis at all. She was given that directive because Ichinose was lonely and wanted to understand why, and that acknowledging her weakness will give her the ability to change, and... Tears! Wow! That's all I wanted to see. Alright, who's ready to kill another god? So unfortunately for us, once we get back to the real world, it almost immediately gets fused together with the metaverse, starting at the Tokyo Radio Tower, which has now grown into the Tree of Knowledge. Before scaling to the top, we leave Ichinose at the base so that she can stay safe. We reach the top to...
We finally found ya, you big box of bullshit!
They're not good. But something about Ryuji's insults just feels so right. Emma gives us an opportunity to surrender our desires one more time before regurgitating all the information we've already been given about her wanting to grant humanity's ultimate desire before separating us in a sea of Hey, wait,
you got the wrong game!
Well, at least I know how to get out of here.
Reach out to the truth in the fog, pursue my true self!
Looking back at where we came after escaping that P4 fever dream, we see a big old desire, which means I guess it's time for a calling card. It doesn't really make sense to use it on Emma because she's been watching us the whole time and would see it coming, so realistically it wouldn't have any kind of effect. But this time, things are a little different. Every time we've been into jail before this, people's desires were taken from them, but this time, they gave them up willingly, so if we make them think that their desires will be stolen, they should materialize. And the delivery method should be simple enough too. Everyone's just looking at Emma on their phone, so if we hack into Emma's servers, that should get their attention for sure. So we head to the server room so that Futaba can get to it, but the server security protocol refreshes before Futaba can actually do what she needs to. Fortunately, Ichinose pops out of nowhere to help out. Apparently all the shadows still see her as an ally to Emma, so she didn't get attacked on her way here. They successfully hack into the servers and our final calling card is sent out to the masses. We get a sweeping shot of people staring at their phones and stop! Let's analyze this guy's screen for a second. First of all, he's been staring at his phone for as long, if not longer, than we've been here. How is his phone still at 100%? Second, you're telling me that these people have just been staring at the home screen for Emma? Like nothing else on the app? And third, this sentence at the bottom, "Otetsudai suru koto wa arimasu ka?" roughly translates to, "Haha, bitch, you got played." It doesn't really, I just wanted to say 3 things. Okay, resume. Calling card successful! We work our way back up to the top of the tower to see all of the materialized desires floating about, but they get quickly scooped up by Ark of the Covenant Emma, which makes her evolve into Demiurge Emma. The first phase of this fight is just like any other battle, really. Though, I'm thinking I'll take this one solo, guys. I've got a dick appointment. Emma tries to convince us further. Mankind's desires create suffering. Suffering generates desire. Alright, just transform, please. Grow your arms and we can continue. Phase 2 is mostly a scripted battle. You just have to get Emma's health down enough to the point where she regenerates what you've taken out and then chill on the cover of Thrasher for a little while Futaba figures things out. Apparently these spheres on Emma's back, all named after the Sephiroth, are regenerating her, so we split up and take them out before she can keep doing it. And look how cooperative they are. They even made us little extra platforms to make it easier. Just imagine that there's a cool sound effect here because she just kind of falls back in slow motion. With our final boss defeated, it is finally time for our final all-out attack. And honestly, I'm just gonna let this one play out. One reason is, well, I'm a fucking ape and this fan servicey shit really hits the spot. But the second reason is that I'm waiting for something to happen that I've got a thing or two to say about, so I'm just trying to stall a little so that I can point it out when it happens. I mean, like, grand scheme, it doesn't really matter, but when I first saw it, it bothered the hell out of me, and every other time I've seen it, it's bothered me more. And it's something that I was freaking out about in P5 too that just makes no sense. Okay, wait, no, here it is.
What?
Like, I have to concede to the fact that gravity is just a recommendation in the metaverse. Like, you got everyone jumping around like they have springs on their shoes, Joker vaulting his entire body up with one arm from this barely engaged position, and this shit? With that, the desires are freed and the metaverse and the real world unfuse. We're all relieved at the redisappearance of the metaverse, and it seems like everyone that had their desires stolen has no memory of what happened. Our celebrations are cut off somewhat prematurely though, as Ichinose leaves the group saying that she needs to take some time to sit and process her position. Following not long behind her is Zenkichi, who thanks us for saving Akane and says that his heart got changed before he could even see it coming.
Is that a Persona 5 reference?
The rest of us go our separate ways until the following day, where we all meet up at LeBlanc to spend one more afternoon together before the end of summer vacation. Partway through these festivities, An notices that Sophia has seemed a little distracted since we beat Emma. Sophia says that once we beat her, she heard Emma say, "Please follow your heart and save humanity." Well, which one? Including the one she just grew. She has 15. Later that night, now that Sophia is able to properly have an existential crisis, she contemplates what her path in life is, and Morgana reassures her that she'll find it eventually, and we go to bed for the night. While we're all saying our goodbyes, I get a message from Ichinose asking us to meet her at Shibuya Station. Yeah, sure, gal pal. Just as long as you promise not to cause another Neo-Rapture situation. While we're waiting for Ichinose to arrive, An notices that on one of the screens overlooking Shibuya Crossing, a news report is being broadcasted saying that an arrest warrant is out for Iwata. Then cuts to Kaburagi, who says that he is being prosecuted for accepting illegal funds from Medis, the hit-and-run incident that took Zenkichi's wife's life, and that he ordered the murder of a secretary who took the blame for the incident. Ichinose shows up and apparently she tried to turn herself into the police, but something about creating an AI that turned into a malevolent god that caused an incident that no one can remember really didn't pique their interest for some reason. So Ichinose decides that she's gonna go on a journey to understand the human heart, but really try to connect with people in the process. Hearing this, Sophia without hesitation asks if she can join Ichinose on her journey so that she can find her path, so that she can help people, and so that she can be humanity's companion, damn it. The thing is, Sophia's only been able to stay on my phone this whole time, but thankfully Futaba has been developing a program to let Sophia go on other phones, so we send her on her way with Ichinose. We get a shot of a handcuffed Iwata, a smirking Zenkichi, and the Phantom Thieves as they disband once more. Man, that was a good game. It had its hiccups here and there, but it was overall a pleasant experience, and I'm sure I'll be happy to revisit it eventually. But why do we revisit games? Why do I look forward to re-experiencing media I've already experienced? Am I hoping to get something new out of it? Or am I making an attempt to recreate memories experienced by a past self that I might like more than the self I am now? Who am I now? Am I a man? Or am I a butterfly? Fluttering hither and thither, yearning to reach the never-ending sunset. Of all intents and purposes, a butterfly. Butterfly. Sunset.
Butterfly Sunset Glider Mario Kart Tour Persona 5 Racing confirmed! I never doubted it for a second. All the signs were there. You just had to close your eyes and bash your head into a wall, but they were there!